Masā al-khair. Right now we're going to talk about colors in Arabic, what we would call in Arabic alwan. The singular for color, the noun is lawn. Colors are adjectives, of course, and the thing about colors in Arabic is that some of them function in a relatively unique pattern that's rather different from other adjectives that you may already be familiar with. Typically in Arabic, color adjectives fall into one of two categories. As you can see over here, we have two separate charts. These color names, by the way, on the right, have been determined across a couple of studies to be the most common across languages. Arabic has as rich a vocabulary for describing color as any other language, but for the sake of brevity, these are the examples that we're going to be working with today. And we have a pretty neat sample of both kinds. In this lower chart, you'll notice that each color adjective has a ya with a shadda at its end. And that's because all of them are nisba adjectives. We have a separate video on nisba adjectives that you can go back and check out if you'd like a refresher. But basically, they function along the same pattern. We have that ya at the end if we wanted to describe something grammatically feminine as pink. We could call it wardiya with a ta marbuta at the end to agree with the feminine noun. Like all nisba adjectives, or most of them anyway, each of these words refers back to a noun. So when we're saying burtuqali, just as in English, we're saying orangish, orangey, the color of the fruit, an orange. Bunni comes from the word bun, which is an old word in Arabic and some other Semitic languages meaning coffee. So brown in Arabic is coffee colored. Banafsaji, the word banafsaj is violet, as in the little flowers. Ramadi, ramad is ash. So ramadi, something that's gray, is something that's ashy colored. Again, all of these nisba adjectives work exactly like the nisba adjectives that you already know and have probably already been working with. Where it gets different is with the colors we see up at the top here. They function in a slightly different pattern. If you take a look at these examples, masculine singular examples, they all follow the same pattern, the same wazn in Arabic, wazn af'al. So aswad, black, ahmar, red, asfar, yellow, etc. For feminine adjectives, instead of adding a ta marbuta at the end like we would with most other adjectives, we have a separate vowel pattern. And we add a couple of extra things at the end. So if I were talking about something yellow, let's say a car, sayyara, instead of taking asfar, the masculine form, and adding ta marbuta, I instead drop that first alif with hamza and then add an alif and a hamza at the end. Sayyara safra, a yellow car. And in the plural, they get another third pattern, which is predictable even if it's unique to these color adjectives. Sufr, sud, humr, etc. So we have a kind of confluence of vowels. We still can rely on the pattern, but it's not quite the same as other adjectives. We do also get adjectives that aren't color adjectives in this pattern, and they function in exactly the same way. A couple of examples that you might actually encounter in real life are the words in Arabic for blonde or fair-skinned and dark or olive-skinned. Ashqar in Arabic means light-complected, and asmar means dark-complected. You get a whole lot of adjectives, some of which are very archaic and some of which are relatively common and still in use from that af'al pattern. So let's take a look at a few examples. If we wanted to say they live in a yellow house. We would write يسكنون في بيت أصفر. Just like all other adjectives, our color adjective goes after the noun it's describing. And it also agrees with its noun in terms of definiteness. So they live in a yellow house, بيت أصفر. No alif lam on either word. If I wanted to say, I bought the red car, as opposed to all of the other colors that were available to me at the lot, I could say اشتريت السيارة الحمراء. Again, even though سيارة is feminine with a ta marbuta, because حمراء, the color adjective, operates on a slightly different pattern, the alif and the hamza at the end indicate that the adjective is feminine. Never going to see a ta marbuta on the end of these adjectives. Just like other adjectives you might know too, if we are talking about a collection of non-human objects, non-human plurals, and describing them, everything else about them in the sentence, in formal Arabic, the rule is a little bit hazier in colloquial Arabic, but in formal Arabic, everything about non-human plurals is grammatically feminine in the rest of the sentence. So if we wanted to say, we sat in the white chairs, we would say جلسنا في الكراسي البيضاء. So that adjective looks like it's feminine singular according to our pattern here, but we're describing multiple chairs. The chairs are non-human, so they're going to take a feminine singular adjective. One last note. We do have plural patterns for all of these colors, but typically it's rare. There aren't too many contexts where we're going to be describing people as blue, for example, although we could use sud and bayd to talk about white people or black people. That's a common usage. But for the sake of argument, oops, this will allow me to correct a typo, because I repeated yellow twice. This should be khudar. So if I wanted to talk about multiple green people and say, I saw the little green men last night, that would be an appropriate use, since ostensibly I'm talking about people. شاهدت الرجال الصغار الخضر ليلة أمس. So there would be a very specific context where it might be appropriate to use khudar, the plural form of green, even though people, human beings, are not typically green. Similarly, I have to use the broken plural for صغير, small or little, because again, rijal, the men that I'm referring to, are human beings, or are they? In any case, one of the very rare circumstances where we might need to use khudar, that adjective, to refer to a group of human beings.